in-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News Today.
Good morning. Election results are in, and we have a lot to cover this morning, from our local Central Texas issues to statewide propositions and amendments affecting all Texans. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tom Miller.
I'm Sally Hernandez. Let's start with Travis County. Both Propositions A and B passed. Voters were asked to vote yes or no on a more than $500 million bond package for roads, sidewalks, and parks that will provide funding to support the county's continued growth. Prop A will fund 10 projects aimed to build, maintain, and improve roadways. It will also go toward adding bike lanes, sidewalks, and shared use paths.
Proposition B provides $276 million for more parkland and to make improvements to existing parks. The bonds will need to be paid off over the next 20 years, meaning homeowners will see a modest bump in their annual property tax bill. Meantime, on ballots statewide, Texans had plenty to vote on.
KXAN's Ryan Chandler is tracking the results of 14 state amendments to the Constitution.
Property taxes, parks, and pensions, all getting an upgrade in Texas.
Prop 4 will save them money.
The state's largest property tax cut now official, cutting the average home's bill by about $1,200 a year.
We know this is the biggest property tax cut in American history. We think it's in the world's history.
But former Texas teachers still feel the worst impacts of inflation.
People are basically living from month to month.
Retired teachers like Joe Ramirez haven't seen a cost of living adjustment in 20 years. After Tuesday's election, Prop 9 will change that for the better.
To make sure that their futures, in their golden years are better off.
From the golden years to the younger years.
It's going to make a big difference.
Voters lifting a financial burden from child care facilities to allow them to thrive without property taxes.
If facilities were able to lower their child care property taxes, then they'd be able to keep child care tuition rates steady.
Billions more going to water, universities, and broadband, as almost all propositions hold a commanding early lead. Ryan Chandler, KXAN News.
Our in-depth election coverage continues right now on KXAN.com. You can find everything on the ballot in your community. To statewide races, on the homepage, click on your local election headquarters tab.
First warning weather with meteorologist Kristen Curry.
Good Wednesday morning to you. Let's start out in Fredericksburg. This is a live camera we've got at the Barons Creek Vineyards there. It's tough to tell, but some low clouds will be with us this morning. Maybe even some patchy fog. I'll be on the lookout for that for my early morning drivers. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s. It is going to be a mild start to the day. That 70 degrees is not normal. We should be at about 53, 54 this time of year in the morning, but we are well above that for one more day. The warming trend taking hold. You could see here a good 5 to 10 degrees warmer depending on where you're at here. Everybody on the warmer side of things compared to 24 hours ago, not only this morning but also this afternoon. A high of 85 will likely make today the warmest day of the week. But I'm going to tell you right now, do not get used to it because the cold front arrives tomorrow. It's going to impact the temperatures, the sky conditions, the winds, humidity, everything will change as that cold front moves in and passes through. Coming up in your first warning forecast, we're talking more about the last day of this warm and muggy stretch, and then we'll dive into the cold front impacts here because it's not just going to be a one-day deal. These rain chances return daily through the weekend. Temperatures are really going to struggle both overnight and in the afternoon and the days to come as well. Big changes to talk about those details coming up.
Kristen, Republican presidential hopefuls are preparing to square off in their next debate tonight in Miami. And while 5 of the 6 leading candidates will be there, former President Donald Trump is skipping another debate.
NBC News' Vaughn Hilliard reports this morning from Miami as most candidates prepare to take the stage.
Tonight is the 3rd Republican presidential debate, and the stage is going to be down to just 5 candidates: Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, and Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. The notable absence, of course, is Donald Trump, who will be holding a counter rally just about 1 mile from this debate venue here this evening. For these Republicans, this is their moment to distinguish themselves as being the Trump alternative candidates. We're just 2 months away now from the Iowa caucus on January 15th. And according to the latest NBC News Des Moines Register polling, Donald Trump holding a lead of more than 25 percentage points over his next closest rivals, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, in the state of Iowa. This is the opportunity for these other candidates to shine and separate themselves from the rest of the pack before that having that chance to take on Donald Trump directly. Much more coming up on Today, live from Miami.
Back here at home, the Austin murder trial for Caitlin Armstrong picks back up today. The judge dismissing the jury until this morning because of a previously scheduled personal matter. Prosecutors say Armstrong shot and killed pro cyclist Mo Wilson in East Austin last year.
Jury deliberations will start this morning in the trial of an Austin police officer accused of murder. Christopher Taylor shot and killed Michael Ramos during a police call back in 2020. Now, before closing arguments yesterday, the jury actually was taken to the scene of the shooting. In court, prosecutors said several times that finding Taylor guilty is not dishonorable to the field of policing, arguing instead this is a case where a man was shot and killed unjustly. Doug O'Connell, one of Taylor's defense attorneys, said this case is going to have huge implications on policing moving forward.
If you are hunting for the holiday deals already, criminals are hoping to cash in once they're shipped out to you. The Round Rock Police Department is relaunching its Operation Front Porch program to try and help out. You can ship packages directly to the police department. They do need to be picked up within 3 days, and this starts Monday, runs through December 20th. Round Rock PD started that program after a string of package thefts in 2017.
The results are in for two key races. Who is the governor of Mississippi and Kentucky?
And the new tech available to local high school students to jumpstart their careers as emergency medics. How the hands-on learning could help save lives. Before we head to the break, results from the Lake Travis ISD's Proposition A. Nearly 60% of voters were in favor, enough to pass the bond, allocating $143 million for stadium and other athletic facility upgrades.
Good morning. We are taking a look at some of the election results throughout the newscast right here on KXAN News Today. And Kyle, you have a Mayor Travis Mitchell winning his re-election bid, just narrowly avoiding a runoff. Mitchell finished with 50.36% of the vote, just above that threshold for victory. Yvonne Flores-Cale, the closest candidate in that four-way race. This will be Mitchell's third term as Kyle mayor. And the results are in for two key governor races. First up, Mississippi. Tate Reeves beats out Brandon Presley in the race for the governor's office. It comes after Democrat Brandon Presley announced his concession last night. And this will be Reeves' second term as a governor after previously serving 2 terms as lieutenant governor. He first won the governorship back in 2019 when he faced off against former Mississippi Attorney General Jim Hood.
This victory actually is more than just who will occupy the governor's mansion over the next 4 years. It's really about the direction that our state will go over the next 4 years. Mississippi has momentum. You've heard me say it 1,000 times throughout this campaign. But Mississippi has momentum, and this is Mississippi's time.
Kentucky Democrat Andy Brashear held on to his seat against Republican Daniel Cameron.
I stand here excited and optimistic about what we're going to do these next 4 years together.
Brashear won the state's governorship first in 2019 by a narrow margin, putting the historically conservative state into Democratic control. Donald Trump endorsed Cameron, who was attempting to return the governor's seat to the GOP in this deep red state. With Thanksgiving approaching fast, why a holiday staple may cost you a little bit more this year.
Sports reporter Noah Gross has a look at why Veterans Day has a special meaning for UT women's soccer coach. Coming up.
Results are in for Round Rock ISD's Proposition A. This gives teachers and librarians in the district a 3% raise. It passed with 73% of voters in favor of the proposition.
We are almost 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and that holiday staple of pecan pie may cost you a little bit more if you want to use Texas-grown nuts.
And who doesn't want to? That's because the drought is impacting trees around the Lone Star State. In Wichita Falls, the pecan shed said that the farm should be in good shape. Workers just started harvesting in September, but the hot, dry summer brought a big struggle for farmers to keep crops alive for the harvesting season, and that has been costly.
Irrigation wells run off electricity, so we try not to use it. We really always want Mother Nature to help us out. But we did get some rain, and then, like I said, we supplemented with irrigation, and then the rain now just helped the trees to kind of open up those holes and get ready.
Here's the thing, depending on where your pecans are coming from, they may have a harder or an easier time. Texas A&M AgriLife found that areas like West Texas got the rainfall needed to ensure a normal season. Looking in depth here at the numbers from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Texas has lost 13,000 bearing acres over the last 3 years. And you see the problem is maybe gradually improving, hopefully.
Some rain.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting? We're talking about this. 2 days ago, I was at Elgin Elementary, and they have a huge pecan tree in their front parking lot. Parked underneath it, not thinking anything about it. And one of the staff members came out and was like, hey, by the way, you know, it's a good thing you didn't park over there because that's actually a pecan tree and it's pecan season time. Those things are falling. And I'm like, huh? Like, oh, he's like, share that on the news. I'm like, I sure will, because I had no idea that was a danger here in Texas, is falling pecans.
Were you like, with all the hail damage, it'll be fine?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, bro, that pecan is the last thing I'm worried about with all the dimples I've got. Let me show you what's going on here. That's kind of just a rite of passage right here in Texas. It's a badge of honor I wear proudly. Radar not showing us anything too exciting today. Today's going to be the last day of warm and muggy conditions. Get outside, enjoy the sun, because there won't be a whole lot more of that sunshine after today in the short term. 70 degrees, southwest winds 9 miles per hour. I told you I'm going to be watching for some potential fog development this morning. We certainly have got some low clouds out there too. Temperatures are in the 60s and 70s to start and 80s to finish. Let's talk about these changes, because they're going to hit pretty quick as that cold front rolls in tomorrow. It's probably going to be early in the day for the Hill Country, right before midday here in the Austin Metro, and then into the early afternoon for our eastern counties. So that's 72. Because of that timing, will likely come probably late morning here in Austin, and we're going to spend most of tomorrow afternoon in the 60s. We'll do the same thing Friday and Saturday. That's the temperature impact, a good 20-degree drop. The winds today will be coming out of the south at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Again, that's a warm wind for us. It also brings up the humidity. But once that cold front gets in here tomorrow, look at the wind shift. Now the winds are coming out of the north, and they're stronger at about 20 to 30 miles per hour. So there's the impacts to the winds. What about the rain? What about the good stuff? Tomorrow's rain chances look good. I mean, we're talking widespread rain likely here in Central Texas at 90%, continuing into Friday morning. Couple spottier little pieces of energy in the overall flow. We'll keep those rain chances in the forecast here as we get you into the weekend, but really the cold front's going to bring us the rain tomorrow and Friday. That's a separate system getting into the weekend. So between the cold front and those couple pieces of energy, we're favored to see anywhere from about a ½ inch to maybe just over an inch in many areas, but we know there will be some exceptions, right? Some probably a little bit less, but some maybe a little bit more, about an inch to an inch and a half in pockets. 7-day forecast shows a high of 85. Cold front rolls in tomorrow. Bottom falls out on the numbers here. You can see we're talking a stretch of 60s all the way into next week. Rain chances look highest tomorrow, so be sure you've got that rain gear with you. 50% mainly for the first half of your Friday, and then some spottier showers for the weekend here. We'll continue with that 30% chance of rain next week. Overnight lows still above freezing, but cooler. We'll wake up to 50s starting Friday morning into next week.
Kristen, thank you. Governor Abbott is giving out more than $500 million in grants, he says, to better protect your safety. The funding is for programs like victim services, anti-human trafficking efforts, border security, and law enforcement support for things like body cameras, bullet-resistant vests, and other equipment. It's now up to law enforcement agencies and organizations to apply for those grants.
High school students in Pflugerville now have some new technology to help them learn hands-on life-saving skills. It should help as they go into study emergency medicine. Pflugerville ISD showing off its new collaboration with Travis County Emergency Services District Number 2. It's a dedicated fire and EMT academy mobile learning lab. The district unveiled it. Unveiled it yesterday at Henderson High School. It utilizes a refurbished ambulance as a training tool for students.
But the real goal was to try to really put the program on wheels and develop an ambulance where they got the real live training, hands-on training of what it would be like to experience having to work in that environment. And so this ambulance today has given him that opportunity, and we're so delighted because it really elevates this program throughout the state of Texas. We're number one.
Number one, the ultimate goal is to expand the program and take the ambulance to other campuses for students to learn similar EMS skills.
Country's largest black tech conference, Afrotech, was in Austin over the weekend, but it's now moving to Houston.
And KXAN's Jayla Washington shares what a local group is doing to try to keep the momentum going here, giving more black people in tech a chance to keep building connections.
The major black tech conference, Afrotech, will have a different city backdrop next year. But its 2 years in Austin helped inspire.
It's just been incredibly refreshing. It energizes me to keep going.
Nick Hollins with the Black Professional Alliance, or BPA, works in tech. And his organization fought for it to stay in Austin this year.
We already knew that it was, in the cards and just a part of their, business model to, change from city to city.
So he wants people to know there is still a similar but more permanent networking opportunity that BPA just launched. It's called Black in Tech Group.
This is sort of a solution to, not having Afrotech here every year.
100%, because additionally, these resources by and large will for the most part be free. Afrotech does have a charge to it. So, I think with this being something that's, sustainable throughout the year, you will get similar access.
We're talking things like workshops, mentorship opportunities to help people move up in the tech world locally. Just 7% of black people making up the tech industry currently.
A lot of people ask, well, what's the purpose in doing this? In order to have people patronize black businesses, you need people that have disposable income to do so. Tech and other professional, industries provide that, but you need those folks to stay here.
Jayla Washington, KXAN News.
Going in depth during this year's South by Southwest, Dr. Tanya Session gave a presentation talking about diversity and business. Her data and research show how diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives help recruit and retain employees. It also shows greater diversity in management teams helps companies earn 19% more in revenue, and companies with board members who are not white or are women have a higher year-over-year revenue. Still, Session says only about 30% of executives view DEI initiatives as a top business priority.
We want your help. We're trying to tell the stories of remarkable and inspiring women right here in Central Texas. And in order to do that, we have to get stories and nominations of who is the remarkable woman in your life. You can go to KXAN.com and nominate someone from your local community. Look for the Remarkable Woman tab on your front page. And I'm going to keep reminding you to get your smartphone out if you haven't done it already and point the camera at the QR code to the screen and nominate that person in your life. It leads you right to the nomination page. We're taking those nominations through the last day of this month, and then we're going to pick 4 women, feature their stories right here on KXAN, and then we're going to fly the local winner to LA for the National Remarkable Women Contest.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
The UT women's basketball team opens its 4th season with Vic Schaefer running the show. Tonight they're hosting Southern University. Then on Saturday, the nation is celebrating Veterans Day. And as Noah Gross tells us, for Schaefer, one particular veteran played a big part in shaping his career.
Focused.
3-lane break with a heavy ball.
At times intense.
Don't care about that left hand.
Vic Schaefer's coaching style works.
I think great players they crave it. I think great players crave discipline. I think they crave structure.
Good, Hattie, good.
That coaching style, the discipline, it's learned.
I'm telling you, I've felt the wrath of the colonel before. I certainly wouldn't want to feel that again or want to disappoint him,
The Colonel was Schaefer's dad, Charles, a World War II veteran. He and Schaefer's mom, Dot, a nurse in the Navy, had a house where love was evident, according to Schaefer.
The discipline piece, the attention to detail, little things matter. I think all that, I get from my parents.
Dad, pictured here, had a best friend named Vic Koenig, or Big Vic, the namesake of...
Good job, Hattie. 5 for 5.
Little Vic.
Well, they always wanted me to get out of the house because Big Vic was going to tell some pretty colorful stories with some pretty colorful language.
Big Vic and Charles Schaefer didn't think twice about serving their country, giving the head women's basketball coach at Texas an appreciation
What'd you learn?
For veterans.
It doesn't just happen this way. Like, we have it for a reason, and there's been a heavy price that's been paid, and it continues to be paid.
Nearly 4 decades of coaching, still with that same discipline and structure.
Post players are running faster than us.
He learned back at home. Noah Gross, KXAN News.
Good run.
For those listening on the KXAN Today podcast, thanks for joining us. Here's what we're tracking at 5 on KXAN Today. It is the morning after local elections here in Central Texas. What is next for Travis County's roads and parks?